I want to get you the details of soundness. What I want to mean by soundness. See, soundness in the sense I should develop my database with entity integrity and completeness. Then what entity integrity is? Say suppose my table structure is consisting of some student data, like student name and student number and date of birth and email. So if you see here, let me not have student number as of now. Let us think it's a private organization that's running the business on school. So it has to gather the information for students. Say suppose there may be any employee, any student number, student name, Sampath, and his date of birth can be some 12th August 1990, and his email ID may be some, he may have the email ID or he may not have the email ID. So say suppose in this situation he is not having any email ID. So the first record is unique by itself. So I can say that it is having integrity, entity integrity. The table is having the integrity. But say when the second student joins the institution and his record is being entered with the same details, because student name can be duplicated, right?
Yeah.
So I'm once again saying Sampath, and his date of birth may be something different. It may be 1st Jan 1990, and he is having his email ID as sum@gmail.com. So right now this Sampath, both are having the same name, but they are only differing with date of birth. So, but when I am querying for this data using Sampath, I'll be getting two students' names. But say suppose I am say that I am interested only in querying data for the first Sampath who has paid half the amount of the fee, and I am querying for the data for Sampath, both the only for Sampath, the first Sampath. But when I query for the data, I'll be getting both the Sampaths, and it will be giving me some wrong output. In the sense, I should make the data to get stored within my database in a unique fashion. Unique fashion in the sense, each and every record should be unique to itself. So still here, do you have any doubts? Yes, we consider.
So the data, hello?
Yeah, Srikanth.
Yeah. So the data which, like in a table we are leaving any of one of column as empty, then that
Yeah.
data is called entity integrity, right?
No. Entity integrity in the sense, my total record has to be unique by itself. He may have the email ID, but every student may have the email ID or may not have the email ID. See, you are joining into an institution, but he has a requirement saying that email ID is must. Okay? But you do not have the entity, you do not have the email ID. It's not a rule for every student to have the email ID, right?
Yes.
Any student can have, any student cannot have.
Okay.
So let us say even this fellow is having some email ID. His email ID is Sam 1@gmail.com. Okay, this fellow is also having an email ID. But see, sound entity integrity in the sense the two records should be unique to themselves at least by one main column. So out of all the three columns that you are seeing over here, which of the column do you think has main column?
Email.
It is the student name which is the main column for me. Okay. But when I am querying the data on Sampath, I will be getting the records on both Sampaths I will be getting as my output. But I am only interested in getting the data of Sampath one. That means I need to have the data something unique in some unique fashion. Say right now, let me have one more table for you so that you will better understand what entity integrity exactly means. I am having student name and date of birth once again, and date of admission and course name and fee. Okay. And the student name is Sagar. His date of birth is 2nd Jan 1990 and date of admission is 15th June 2000, and he has opted for MCA and his fee is 25,000. So every time the first record will be unique to itself until and unless the second record is entered into the table. This will not get into entity integrity. So second time also I am entering Sagar because an organization can have a student name getting duplicated. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So this is my first student, this is my second student whose name is also Sagar, and his date of birth, say suppose I am having this one. Second Jan 1990 and once again 15th. So is this possible? You just say no.
Yeah, it is possible.
Is that possible? Because two persons joining with same, having the same name, having the same date of birth, joining into the same date of admission and course name as MCA, and their fee even having 2,500. Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible.
Okay. But when I am querying for the data,
Excuse me, sir.
but yeah.
The entity integrity is just nothing but data integrity, right?
Yeah, data integrity.
Okay, I got it. So there should be something that unique ID or something should be given to each data. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. So okay, if such a situation is possible, and I'm querying for the data of Sagar, who are both into MCA, who are having both, I have called a student saying Sagar. Two students came from me, and after that I'm saying no man, I want person who opted for MCA, and both of them opted, and they said yes sir, we both are in MCA. After that, the principal will ask who is having the date of birth of 2nd Jan, and they too will say yes sir, we do have the date of birth of 2nd Jan. Then this fellow principal will get confused to whom he is actually looking for. And as a developer and as a PLSQL or SQL developer, you too will get confused. Why am I getting such a duplicated records? It's not duplicated, but it is looking duplicated. In the sense, to the business, there should be some column that you have to force into the table structure so that you can maintain the record unique to itself. So for the purpose, what I'll do is I'll develop student number, one of a column to my business requirement, saying having student number as 1 and having student number as 2. And after that, the principal will call Sagar having the serial number 2. You just come to the principal's chamber, he will call up. So entity integrity in the sense, you should collect the data in such a way that each and every record is unique by at least one column, and the same column will give uniqueness to the entire record. What it means? You collect the data uniquely to at least by one record, one column, and that column itself gives you uniqueness to your entire record. Okay, did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but now I should also maintain the completeness of the data. What completeness? In the sense, tree. After that, I have not collected data of the student, and I said his data date of birth is 3rd February 1990, and his date of joining admission I have not taken, and I have directly given him a MBA course with a fee of 1000 rupees only. So, is such a data is suitable to be registered into an organization without having a student name, without having the date of admission, but having date of birth and only course name and fee? Is that possible to enter a record into our databases in such a fashion? No, it is not possible, because students are your main persons of this table, because you are running the institution depending upon the student. So without having the student name, if you are entering into a record, it means that your company is entering into some fraud, because he is not entering the student name. He thought, I'll enter a record at this point of time, and in the future when a new person comes and asks me for a seat, I'll ask him for higher amount and enter that fellow's name here who has come through third party. In the sense, your institution is running into process. So the moment, and he may also, if you are giving permission to the end user itself to create record by record and serial number, then he may skip this record to some 10 digit and then give the student name saying Sagar with some 3rd February or 3rd Jan 90, and you're giving all the 2 columns, and fee as 2000. And you see here I'm giving MCA. So one of the student who has opted for MCA, the course fee is 2,500, and for one of the student who has opted the same course, the course fee is 2,000. In the sense, there is no business valuation that is being performed on this table. When my clerk who is sitting on the front end is collecting some fee, he should maintain consistency for the fee column depending upon the course he has opted for. But here that is not happening. A student is having a fee of 2,000 and a student in the same course is having a fee of 2,500. Okay, so in the sense, these records that you have entered here right now, they are not in entity integrity. Okay, they are in entity integrity, but business valuations have failed on these records. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what entity integrity, what completeness is the basic and minimum funda that we have to make clear ourselves on the table, so that when we enter into the course, we enter by creating a table of our own for mobile number 40, where we should drive the table to entity integrity and to get the data completely inserted into our database, performing some validations. See, when we insert some data into student name, sometimes I'm entering small letter data, and sometimes init cap data with spaces, and sometimes my employee can even enter data saying that SAGAR. Such inconsistency of data should not be there within our database. Either it should be totally small, either it should be totally capital. But in a general way, the data gets stored in capitals all the time you enter data. But to do that, without putting any constraints on my table, if I am viewing a front-end frame for my clerk and ask him to populate the data as the student joins into the institution, he enters the data as he wishes and bring our table into inconsistency, so that at a later point of time we will be in a very hectic position of calling the records and getting the data retrieved. So I should maintain consistency when I am entering the data into the table. So no matter what my end user is entering, either in init caps, either in small letters, or either in capital letters, the data should be entered into the table only in capital letters. That as a developer, it's our responsibility to convert this data and store that data in capital letters into our tables. And date of birth is, see, there may be some situations saying that, let me have this as '87. Okay. You see here the date of birth of Sagar, who is having student number 1. His date of birth is 2nd Jan 1990, but his date of admission is 15th June 87, which is not valid because this fellow has joined the course before his birth only, which is impossible. So for that, it is our responsibility to drive the table to collect the data perfectly to the business rules into the table, and at least by one business rule, if the data is getting wrong, populated wrongly, it has to get rejected. Even my front-end clerk, he is putting and forcibly trying to put the data into table. So further, we will be using check constraints, saying that see that when we are populating the data into the table, and date of admission should be less than the date of birth, and they should be having at least a age span of 20 to 22 years. 20 to 22 years. So once again I have to develop check constraints on date of admission, saying that this should be less than date of birth and the age gap between these two should be 22 years. So that is where the higher level architects and business team leads, they sit and they discuss and they take a proper decision of developing a table over a period by studying the business requirement that is actually requiring the data to get inserted in. So what I mean to say is, the architects and the business leads, they sit together and they will analyze the requirement, and to that requirement our data scientists, they develop the tables in such a fashion that not even a single record gets rejected, and to the business requirement each and every column gets validated, and then the data gets put up into our table. So that is what I mean about the entity and integrity and completeness. Entity integrity in the sense, at least by one column the record should be unique. At least by one column the record should be unique. And completeness in the sense, it has to get cross-validated data and check that the data is inserted only in a proper format into the table. So is that fine? Anvesh and Sanket? Srikant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for this, and the thing that I have said, the date of admission should be less than date of birth, it gets into domain integrity. Entity integrity and domain integrity, because it's the business domain that is forcing me to implement that entity integrity, not that domain. It is the business requirement that is forcing me to implement this integrity, saying that date of admission should be less than this date of birth, and hence it is called as domain integrity or business integrity. But we have a general term called domain integrity. Domain in the sense business. It's the requirement that is driving me to build such an integrity. And yeah, let me go this way. Whenever there is always not a necessity that always we populate our data into the front end directly. There may be a situation where we may be moving the data from the legacy system. What the legacy system means is, legacy system is any system other than the system that you are having. Say suppose I am having a Oracle database as my new database, and I am trying to move my data from some mainframe's data that was there prior to 30 years of implementing my new database. That is, I was having a business from 1970s to 2000, and in 2000 I have taken a decision of moving my data from mainframes to Oracle. Then Oracle is my main database and mainframes is my legacy system. Say suppose if you have done that using MS SQL prior to implementing that on Oracle, then MS SQL will be your legacy system. And say suppose you want to implement the same data into your MS SQL servers from an Oracle database, then Oracle will be your legacy system. Did you get that what the legacy system actually means? अन्वेषण sticker.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you have any queries, you can please raise me in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I should be able to move the data, say 30 years of data that I have maintained within my mainframe system. I should drive that entire data into my database. I should get as it is and I should put that into my database. If I'm sitting in my front end and entering record by record into my database, say suppose I am having some millions of records over my 30 years of business, it would be a very difficult position and it is an impossible situation to enter the data record by record. So in such situations, we are having ETL tools and we are also having SQL LDR, which is Oracle seeded service to put all the data that is necessary for our business from any legacy system. So how the process would be, when we try to move the data to some database from another legacy system, we get either we try to put a DB link. Then what DB link is? A direct link between Oracle to Oracle system only, but not to Oracle to MS SQL, Oracle to Sybase, Oracle to Teradata. DB link is possible only between Oracle to Oracle database. So DB link is not possible in this situation because I am trying to move the data from mainframe system to Oracle database. Hence, we should either drive the data from the mainframe system to a data file, or we should drive the data into an MS SQL, MS Excel sheets. But Excel sheets which are Windows only openable, compatible, we cannot put millions of records into Excel sheet, and even if we put millions of records, we cannot open that Excel sheet. It will Excel will just say that the file size is heavy. As of now, we cannot open. So which is once again not possible to move the data from Excel sheets to database. In such situation, the people or the tech leads or the architects, they sit and move the data to the data file, flat files. What are flat files? One minute. What are flat files? Your flat file may be anything as simple as this way. Sagar, the first student name, comma, and the second column saying date of birth as 2nd Jan 90, comma, date of admission 15th